Welcome back to Ask Dr. Clarke. Today's question is one that several YouTube subscribers have asked me. The topic is, what do I do if my abusive spouse is on the spectrum? Autism, Asperger's. This is not an uncommon situation. A certain percentage of abusers are on the spectrum. So it's a good question. All your questions are good. Before I read the question and give my answer, I want you to know that you can do a phone advice session with me. More and more folks across the country are doing this. 70% of my clinical practice now is phone advice sessions, life coaching. I'll get the background of your crisis, your relationship situation. Could be divorce recovery, could be abuse, could be your spouse has had an affair or has just left you for no good reason, wants to divorce you. So all you have to do is email me directly, David E. Clarke, PhD, @gmail.com. That's Clarke with an E. And we can set it up via email. It's a credit card situation. We set it up. You call me a few minutes before. I get your credit card information. I run it. We talk for 45 minutes. I'll get the background, and you will have a clear, biblical, practical plan of action moving forward. Most Christian counselors don't have these types of plans, and they take forever to get to the point. That's not Dr. Clarke's style. One session on the phone, you'll have a plan. And to find out all about my resources, phone advice being just one of them, go to the website, davideclarkephd.com. That's Clarke with an E. Okay, today's question. I've been married 20 years, all right? My husband is on the spectrum. I've had several therapists tell me he has Asperger's or some type of autism. He does fit many of the symptoms. He is also emotionally abusive to me and has been for years. Now, that's a key phrase, has been for years. She mentioned verbal abuse, blows up in rage. This is clear emotional abuse, been going on for 15, 20 years. She continues, I feel like I can't leave him because he has Asperger's and can't change. I've tried to get him to see a therapist who specializes in spectrum disorders, and there are people like that, well-trained, but he refuses. She says, well, what can I do? My answer, he can so change if he chooses to and does the hard work. He has refused therapy. That's his choice. There are 25, 30 years ago, we didn't have the therapies. Now we have them. He doesn't want them. There are treatments now for spectrum disorders that can be very effective. It's hard work, but he's making the choice not to do that. First, you are dealing with two separate issues here, Asperger's and emotional abuse. Just because he's on the spectrum doesn't mean he has to be emotionally abusive. Those are not mutually inclusive. I know a number of husbands on the spectrum who are not abusive, not even close. Now, these men have issues with communication, with intimacy, with conflict, resolution, with being overreactive to stimuli, all the spectrum symptoms, but they are not emotionally abusive. Two, I want you to only address his emotional abuse. That's the elephant in the room. That's what is destroying you and the marriage, not his spectrum disorder. That's not the root of the emotional abuse, separate issue. Three, get my book, Enough is Enough, How to Leave an Abusive Relationship. It is for you, even though your husband has a spectrum disorder. Follow the steps. Prepare to leave him and leave him. This will save you and your kids from more damage and is the only action that may motivate him to work on his emotional abuse and his spectrum disorder. If it doesn't, that's, again, his choice. So bottom line, I don't care if he's on the spectrum. God doesn't care if he's on the spectrum. It's his responsibility to work on his emotional abuse and his spectrum disorder. He won't do either if you stay with him. One more thing. If you are finding these Ask Dr. Clarke videos helpful, subscribe to my YouTube channel, tap the like button, leave a rating, a review, and a comment. This will help us gather more and more audience and have more and more impact. And again, as I've said many times before, you're not getting the usual Christianese program here. This is edgy, yes, but it is practical. It is solidly biblical. After 35 years, I know what works and what doesn't work, and God's blessing this ministry. So if you want to help us out, we'd be happy to have you do that.